Mirchandani, real pleasure to have Sarvesh Mahesh today. He is the CEO of Tavant, which is a fintech company focused on the mortgage space. They're also focused on a few other verticals, and they're also a services company. So we'll have a fairly interesting discussion in what's happening in the whole real estate market. Sarvesh, welcome on board. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the company.
Thank you, Vinnie. I'm Sarvesh Mahesh. We started the company back in 2000. A few of us were at Amazon, and we saw Amazon exploit technology to really sell in different modes to their customers. And we thought that would be a great time for us to provide that capability to many other clients. So the early verticals that we picked were the aftermarkets for industrial equipment and other equipment. That was one of our early sort of forays. And the second one was mortgages. And the third one is what we call high tech, which is working with a whole bunch of high tech and media companies. What we provide in each of these areas is different. In the aftermarkets, we have a warranty product, which is actually pretty prevalent, and it's both available as an enterprise version and also on Salesforce. In the mortgage and consumer lending and fintech world, we have a product suite which helps lenders get closer to their customers and also optimize their operations. In addition to that, we also have a large services business in the fintech area, where we work with all kinds of different finance companies and mortgage companies and real estate companies and credit card processing companies. And the last area, or the other area, is what we call high tech. And this is where we work with companies with large data providers, media companies. Some of the examples are TiVo, Experian, and others, and Disney and others. And we've seen a big change, and then I'm sure that's what we're going to talk about, know what's going on in these industries. So.
Boy, you have a pretty wide portfolio. Let's talk a little bit about heroics in your customer base. Obviously we've seen in all the doom and gloom, we've seen a lot of heroics, right? Auto manufacturers jumping into medical ventilators, all kinds of, you talk about Amazon, last mile logistics have just been phenomenal. We've seen healthcare heroics. We've seen, I saw the SBA has approved 4 million PPP loans. I mean, the volumes have just been off the charts. Tell us a little bit about the heroics in your customer base. What have you seen that have made you go, wow, I didn't think this was possible, or at least not doable in a couple of months?
Yeah, so, I think Satya Nadella said it, that we've seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in the last 2 months. And I think that's definitely true for many of our clients. In the mortgage industry, right, in spite of what's going on, I think most of, or many of the mortgage companies have had the best 3 months of their lifetime in the last 3 months, right? And it is, and especially in terms of volumes. So because of the refis and because of the low interest rates and because where the economy is, the refi volumes have just gone through the roof. And at the same time, when this is going on, everybody is working from home. So what we've been able to see is that all our clients now are working from home. 95+% of their employees are working from home, or actually working from anywhere. And they've been able to make that transition very, very smoothly. And I would have thought that is going to be a very difficult thing. In the whole mortgage process, we saw any time when there is a person-to-person interaction required is at the time of closing, and they're able to send people to go to people's house and do almost contactless, or as much as possible contactless closing, where people sit and they have a very prescriptive way of how far they're going to sit, how they're going to pass paper and actually sign. In addition to,
I find that hard to believe that mortgages are usually this thick in paperwork, right? You managed to digitize all that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. So no, not digitized, but actually in the last, you still have to sign those papers.
Sure.
In many of the states that still have to sign it, but they're able to send somebody to your house and you sit in your garage far away,
Okay.
just the signing and the whole process is prescribed. It's not as if you say, hey, where is your glove or whatever. This person would come with an exact process that he's going to follow and actually do the signatures. In addition to that, there is a lot of work that is being done on digital discovery of houses. So if you're looking to buy a house, and this is not in the mortgage industry, but upstream, let's say if you want to buy a house, and all the pictures, it used to be, oh, do we have some good, nice pictures? But now pictures are not enough, right? You need to have a virtual tour. You need to stage it for digital. And you have to have a drone come around, take a picture of the neighborhood and also your house. So some of the large, one of the largest new age real estate companies is one of our clients. And one of the biggest service that they are providing their brokers is ability to actually get their house internet ready in a short period of time. So they have the photographers on their marketeers on their staff, photographers on the staff, people who can take drone pictures, people who can even stage it, and staging it for a picture taking session is different than staging it for somebody coming to the house. So they have expertise into all of that, and in fact, right, if I'm going to be buying a house or at least doing majority of my discovery online, then I need those things. And in fact, we are also working with a startup which is making sure that these videos and pictures are authentic. So they are able to certify that. So lots of, as they say, whenever there is all this crisis has created a lot of new opportunities for different kinds of companies.
But the title checks and so on, have those gone digital or they're still pretty manual?
They are digital to the extent that you're able to interact with them, you're able to integrate with them digitally. So to create a mortgage, you have to interact with somewhere between 15 to 30 agencies, and many of them are available online. And actually, one of our systems is able to connect to all of them and get that information digitally, and you don't have to upload any papers, or you don't have to actually it's paperless, contactless, and you're able to start your application process. In a slightly different industry, in the media industry, there's a big push to go over to OTT and online as opposed to TV. If you see the TV advertising has gone down quite a bit, but a lot of it has shifted to streaming and OTT. And in fact, one of our clients launched a very, very successful platform for their OTT, and they were able to get 50 million clients or subscribers within a month. So that's been a pretty exciting time.
Well, it sounds like you've been able to scale up fairly well. Let's focus a little more on the real estate market. Obviously the commercial real estate market seems to be, at least downtowns, from what you hear, seem to be in some trouble. What is that going to do? Put your thinking hat on. Are they going to repurpose that into residential? Are we going to see what do you think? How is that going to impact the residential housing market?
I think it is hard to predict what's going to happen in the long term. But in the short term, you're right. It is going to be very difficult, right? If you have a 40-story building, how do you even get people to all the floors, right? I have heard of some of the building people writing applications where it's almost like a Uber, where you can schedule what time you're going to go up to your floor so that you can go. Because if there are only 2 or 3 people in an elevator at a time, when it used to take 30 people at a time, and even then you had to wait for 5 to 10 minutes. So now it could be a huge problem. So I'm actually, one of our clients, in downtown New York, they have actually told all their information services employees that they can work from home for the next 12 to 18 months. Right? Because getting those people into the building and getting them out of the building, that alone could take a lot of effort and time and coordination. And one of the best things about this whole work from home in many sectors of work has been because of the tools like what we are on, Zoom and others. Productivity has not suffered. In fact, productivity has gone up. And you'd even see in some of the usage of things like Zoom and Slack and Teams, which has just skyrocketed. No, we measure our productivity and our usage of these tools quite a bit. And we've seen multifold increase in the use of these tools. And it's, of course, obvious through the stock of Slack and Zoom.
So let's talk about the residential market a little bit. There's obviously early signs that if people say work from anywhere, the expensive cities will see an exodus, right? Employees will say, why am I paying those taxes? Why am I paying those rates when I could be living like me in Florida and pay no state income tax and so on? Are you seeing any early signs of residential impact on the residential real estate market? Or is that still too early?
It's too early, but we've seen a 10% reduction in rents in San Francisco, or 9.3% reduction in rents in San Francisco.
Already.
We are also, actually, I was talking to one of the leading mortgage insurance companies who's our client, that they are seeing a lot of new purchases coming in suburbs or in a what you would call a more sort of not so tightly packed areas. There are a lot of new houses being sold in those areas, and people are moving from maybe downtowns to suburbs. So there is there's a move towards the suburbs, which is kind of a reverse of the last maybe 5 to 7 years, where everybody, at least all the young people, wanted to live in the city, and many of them are choosing to actually go out and try out the suburbs, or maybe some of them are even trying. It's not work from home; it's work from anywhere.
Right.
So they are even thinking, can I just go work from Colorado in Boulder, or can I work from Hawaii, or what have you?
Yeah, I interviewed a CEO yesterday. He did his interview on a 4G line from a village in India. So yeah, and his view is we can all be digital nomads. So let's come back to in the residential housing. Do you see rates going down, and is that going to accelerate demand even more, or is it stabilized? What are you hearing?
I think the rates are pretty low already, and in fact, just yesterday I heard that they've inched up a little bit because of the fact that they're expecting the economy to start coming back up. So they've inched up a little bit, but they are at all-time low. Not just in the last 10 years or 20 years or 50 years. Now it's all-time low for mortgage rates, right? You can get a fixed rate mortgage for 2.5%. Right?
So you don't think we can go in like Switzerland and say, pay me to get a mortgage?
There is, I think we could go there, but I hope we don't, because that would mean there is something else is really fundamentally wrong. So yes, that would be the case only if the economy goes further south. So
yeah,
I hope we don't go there.
Let's talk about your other businesses. Let's talk about your service business. Clearly it's the other extreme, right? You are having to, the services businesses, usually people like to have large teams on site, and suddenly it's gone to nobody can show up, do it remotely. How are you adjusting to that?
So very, very interesting, right? We have about 2,000 people in India who work in 3 locations or 4 locations now. and in a period of 3 days, everybody transitioned to work from the office to work from home. And it is something that we've been thinking about doing for a long time, but we have actually not convinced ourselves that would be the best thing for us to do. But in 3 days, we were forced to do it. We did it. And we are actually saying, no, why didn't we do it earlier? No, all these, especially in Bangalore and Noida, people were taking 2 hours each way to get to the office.
Right.
Right. So, and now they're home, so they can work much longer hours. So the initial transition was...
Your client on-site teams, what impact do you see on that?
So on-site meant on-site, and now it means same time zone.
Okay.
Okay. So even in US, like, no, where on-site meant, oh, if I'm working in Dallas, I have to be in Dallas. Now it really means I have to work. I could be anywhere in US. I just have to work Dallas hours, or more or less Dallas hours. So it has become, when we were in computer science, we used to talk about location transparency. I think we have truly achieved that, right? So people are working that, and then the tools have become much better, right? So we on the services side, and actually everywhere, most of our projects used a methodology called Agile, which actually helped us in maintaining the rhythm and the cadence for all the projects, because there is already a process of doing a daily stand-up, writing reports, sharing data, and all of that. And because of that, we were able to transition quickly. So we are actually taking some ideas from there and implementing them in other functions, like sales or like other admin, finance, and all. Because while that methodology worked very well for software development, it was not used across the company in every function. So we are transitioning that, because one thing we are realizing is that this work from home or work from anywhere is here to stay. And actually, recovery does not mean go back to the old method. Recovery means go back to a new, better method.
Correct.
Right? And defining that, having a vision for that, and charging towards that now is what we are focused on. Because if you think of it as a long-term issue, there are issues about when you hire new employees, how do you build culture? Right? How do you create innovation? And I'm very surprised, because now when I talk to our team members, they all say, oh, most of the innovative talks happen around the water cooler. The proverbial, how do you create the proverbial water cooler online? We have created some, we are experimenting with some ideas. We are creating some internal tools for that, for that kind of interaction.
I think the bigger outsourcing firms are going to have more of a challenge, I would think, because they still are used to the on-site model. Now that you've been able to move everybody to work from home, or most people to work from home, isn't the logical next step to say, let's think about shared services? If you virtualized work, we can probably consolidate them into, how every systems integrator has a different data conversion team for each client, has a different training team for each client. I can see a logical next step being, let's consolidate into shared services around different projects. Are you thinking about that, or is that still too early?
No, absolutely. And we are also thinking about transitioning from selling hours to selling outcomes.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Right. And selling SLAs. So at some level, it's my responsibility to get it done, your responsibility to tell me what you need done. As opposed to you managing hours, you can't manage hours anyway, right? Who knows where everybody is? How would you know, other than a timesheet, where do you have? So I think there is going to be a bigger and a faster change towards that also, where people are going to say, I need this done, you do it, and do it with provable quality.
And that means you could probably automate without having to worry about not getting paid for that, right?
Yeah.
But what do you expect? Procurement people don't usually like that model. They like to see hourly rates and so on. Are you seeing any resistance to that?
No, procurement people are smart people. They're seeing that that's where it's going. So they are actually brainstorming with us as to how we can create those SLAs, how we can create how we can define the outcomes, so that it can be done this way. So we are having a great time working with these procurement people and making this transition.
That's great to hear. Let's talk a little bit about. Do you want to talk about your other markets, media or any other verticals?
So we work with a lot of the warranty companies, and in that area, depending on what you are manufacturing, it could be a little slow, or it could be a little or it could actually be accelerating. But what we are seeing is that I think people have realized that, okay, I think in the beginning everybody was just shell shocked, right? And so now it was a blackout. So it's gone from a blackout to maybe a brownout, where everybody is saying, okay, I don't know, we know what is happening now. Although we don't know what's going to happen in the next 3, 4, 5 quarters, but what are the different scenarios? And do our planning based on scenarios as opposed to a plan. So it's a little bit like, if this happens, I will do this. And if this happens, then I'll do this, as opposed to saying, hey, my commit for next quarter is this. You cannot do that, right? So you just, this is too far out.
You make a great point. I saw AutoNation had a pretty good quarter, and I go, why? Well, apparently people are buying used cars because it's more hygienic than taking Uber. Then I saw yesterday RVs are selling like crazy. And you go, why? Well, people are finding they want to take a vacation. It's safer to go in an RV than go on a plane and go in a hotel. So there's some very interesting patterns emerging.
And which would have been hard to foresee or predict.
Right.
So,
So you're right. So your warranties, depending on the sector, are going to be up or down. Let's talk about the economy in general. I'm asking everybody. Do you expect a V recovery? Do you expect a gradual U recovery? Do you expect a W, kind of flare-ups, or by region will be different? Or is it an L? Well, I think I know the answer to mortgages. It's been a V. It doesn't sound like they had a downturn at all. But broadly, what do you see in the economy?
I think it's hard to say. Frankly, what I want to be doing for myself and the company is to be prepared for whatever happens. So it's a little bit of a rope-a-dope as opposed to anything else. And also here, what we want and what we expect and what will happen, there could be 3 non-overlapping sets.
That's a great perspective. Being agile is probably the best way to be. Yeah.
So because if you try to predict too much, then and make decisions based on that, there isn't a way. There is no easy way to predict it. And that's, I think, where we are, fundamentally where we are.
Is that frustrating to your employees or your management team or your board, or is that being accepted by everybody that, hey, look, let's go with the flow?
I think it is frustrating. It is, and I think this is a time when we need a lot of communication with the clients, with our employees. And the reason we need that is not only we are changed the way we work, but there is a lot of anxiety in the employees' mind. About their future, about the future of the company. So, and the best thing, at least in my opinion, what we can do, and this is one of our core values, is to be transparent. Treat everybody like adults. Tell them what your constraints are. Tell them what the basic equations are, and everybody can make their own judgments. Because I can tell them what I expect, what I want, and all of that, but on the end, I have to be open. And if I'm open and transparent and honest, at least I don't feel bad about it, right? I don't feel I have done any disservice to anybody. And doing that makes it much easier from a day-to-day basis, working with the team that we have. So, but it requires a lot of discussion. It requires a lot of being open and encouragement and all of that. So, it's a true chance for us to be mentors. And interestingly, we do have more time now. It's very easy to set up a call with 5 people and talk to them for half an hour. Earlier, it would have been a much harder sort of proposition. So.
That's been fascinating conversation. Thank you. Any final thoughts?
Vinnie, first things, my thoughts and prayers are with the victims and the families who have been affected. The numbers are totally mind-boggling. I don't think we have seen such disruption in a very, very long time. And also, I'd like to thank all the doctors and nurses and the frontline workers who have so bravely carried out on their work. Frankly, it's God's work. But from our business perspective, COVID has been an accelerator. It gives us an opportunity to change things that we have always wanted to change. And at the end of this, we are going to be a better version of ourselves. We're not thinking about going back to where we were, but become something better. So that's what our goal is here. So,
that's very gracious of you to compliment the medical workers. But the reason I did this series was business people like you are doing all kinds of heroics too. So I wanted to recognize, the customers that you've mentioned, what you're doing. It's not like you're sitting around doing nothing. It's been a very intense period for many, many businesses. So thank you for your service also. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Vinnie. Hope to see you sometime soon.